Opposition coordinates: 64 degrees 08, 48, and 21 degrees 56 minutes 25 seconds west, 64.14667 degrees north, 21.94028 degrees west, 64.14667. Minus 21.94028. The Althing east of what later became the country's capital, Reykjavik. Even after Iceland's union with Norway in 1262, the Althing still held its sessions at Ingvellir until 1800. When it was discontinued, it was restored in 1844 by royal decree and moved to Reykjavik. The restored unicameral legislature first came together in 1845 and after 1874 operated in two chambers, with an additional third chamber taking on a greater role as the decades passed until 1991, when Althing became once again unicameral. The present Parliament building, the Althingshús, was built in 1881, made of hewn Icelandic stone. The unicameral parliament has 63 members, and is elected every 4 years based on party list proportional representation. The current Speaker of the Althing is Steingrímur J. Sigfusson. The Constitution of Iceland provides for 6 electoral constituencies with the possibility of an increase to 7. The constituency boundaries and the number of seats allocated to each constituency are fixed by legislation. No constituency can be represented by fewer than 6 seats. Furthermore, each party with more than 5% of the national vote is allocated seats based on its proportion of the national vote, in order that the number of members in parliament for each political party should be more or less proportional to its overall electoral support. If the number of voters represented by each member of the Althing in one constituency would be less than half of the comparable ratio in another constituency, the Icelandic National Electoral Commission is tasked with altering the allocation of seats to reduce that difference. The Althing claims to be the longest-running parliament in the world. Its establishment as an outdoor assembly or thing held on the plains of Ingvellir during the session. The center of the gathering was the Logberg, or Law Rock, a rocky outcrop on which the law speaker took his seat as the presiding official of the assembly. His responsibilities included reciting aloud the laws in effect at the time. It was his duty to proclaim the procedural law of the Althing to those attending the assembly each year. The Gulathing law was adopted in 930 at the first Althing, introduced by Alfljótur, who had spent 3 years in Norway studying their laws. The Icelandic laws conferred a privileged status on the Danes, Swedes and Norwegians. According to Njál's saga, the Althing in 1000 declared Christianity as the official religion. By the summer of 1000, the leaders of Iceland had agreed that prosecuting relatives for blaspheming the old gods was obligatory. Iceland was in the midst of unrest from the spread of Christianity that was introduced by travelers and missionaries sent by the Norwegian king Olaf Tryggvason. The outbreak of warfare in Denmark and Norway prompted Thorgeir Jósvetnangagodi, a pagan and chieftain of the Althing, to propose one law and one religion to rule over the whole of Iceland, making baptism and conversion to Christianity required by law. Public addresses on matters of importance were delivered at the Law Rock, and there the assembly was called to order and dissolved. The Lagretur, the legislative section of the assembly, was its most powerful institution. It comprised the 39 district chieftains, was established early in the 11th century. It served as a supreme court of sorts, and assumed the function of hearing cases left unsettled by the other courts. It comprised 48 judges appointed by the Goer of Lagretur. When the Icelanders submitted to the authority of the Norwegian king under the terms of the Old Covenant, as before, the Lagretur, now comprising 36 members, continued to be its principal institution and shared formal legislative power with the king. Laws adopted by the Lagretur were subject to royal assent, and, conversely, if the king initiated legislation, the Althing had to give its consent. The law speaker was replaced by 2 legal administrators, called lagmenn. Towards the end of the 14th century, royal succession brought both Norway and Iceland under the control of the Danish monarchy. With the introduction of absolute monarchy in Denmark, the Icelanders relinquished their autonomy to the crown, including the right to initiate and consent to legislation. After that, the Althing served almost exclusively as a court of law until the year 1800. The Althing was disbanded by royal decree in 1800. A new High Court, established by this same decree and located in Reykjavik, took over the functions of lagrétta. The three appointed judges first convened in Hólavallarsskóli on 10 August 1801. The High Court was to hold regular sessions and function as the court of highest instance in the country. It operated until 1920, when the Supreme Court of Iceland was established. A royal decree providing for the establishment of a new Althing was issued on 8 March 1843. Elections were held the following year.